Hi students, today I am going to deal the fourth chapter, that is blood pressure and flow measurement and therapeutic instruments. Blood pressure and flow measurement and therapeutic instruments. Blood pressure measurements and the methods that are involved in blood pressure measurement. I am going to deal this topic today. Learning objectives. Upon completion of this presentation, you will be able to understand the concept of the necessity of blood pressure measurement, methods of blood pressure measurement, indirect blood pressure measurement, sphygmomanometer, advantages and disadvantages of indirect blood pressure measurement, direct blood pressure measurement, advantages and disadvantages of direct blood pressure measurement. So, upon completion of this presentation, you will be able to understand the concepts of the necessity of blood pressure measurement, the methods of blood pressure measurement, indirect blood pressure measurement, that is sphygmomanometer, advantages and disadvantages of indirect blood pressure measurement. Then we are going to study about direct blood pressure measurement, advantages and disadvantages of direct blood pressure measurement. The necessity of blood pressure measurement. Blood pressure measurement, it is one of the most important physiological variable and is considered as one of the important parameters of the state of the cardiovascular system. Blood pressure is the most important physiological variable and it is considered as one of the important parameters of the state of cardiovascular system. Dangerously high blood pressure, which is known as hypertension, and extremely low blood pressure called as hypotension, indicates blood pressure levels when they are high and low. Their indication helps the doctor to treat their patients suitably to avoid untimely death. These values help the doctor to treat their patients suitably to avoid untimely death. Thus, blood pressure is a good indicator of the status of the cardiovascular system. The blood pressure measurement can save the person from untimely death by providing warnings. They provide warnings and also they prevent heart attacks. Untimely deaths can be avoided. They are good indicators of the status of cardiovascular system and they help in preventing heart attacks. So they are as warning to the person, which gives an indication of the high or low blood pressures. Then, what is blood pressure? Before dealing with the methods of measurement of blood pressure and the two methods which we are going to deal today, first let us know what is blood pressure. Blood pressure, or it is in short called as BP, is a measure of the force that the circulating blood exerts against the arterial walls. It is the measure of the force that the circulating blood that exerts against the arterial walls. It is nothing but force acting per unit area. Force acting on the walls of the blood vessels per unit area is called blood pressure. Okay, blood pressure, it is the measure of the force that the circulating blood exerts against the arterial walls. That is, circulating blood exerts against the arterial walls. We have two types of blood pressure levels which we commonly observe, that is systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Systolic condition. Systolic pressure, it is the maximum pressure exerted by the blood against the arterial walls. It is the maximum pressure exerted by the blood against the arterial walls. It results when the ventricles contract. This systolic pressure arises when the ventricles contract. So, systolic pressure is a maximum pressure and in a normal adult it ranges from 95 to 140 mm of mercury. 95 to 140 mm of mercury, and its average value is 120 mm of mercury. Its average value is 120 mm of mercury. So systolic pressure is the maximum pressure exerted by the blood against the arterial walls. It results when the ventricles begin to contract. This pressure arises when the ventricles begin to contract. So systolic pressure is the maximum pressure, and in the normal adult its range is from 95 to 140, and an average value of this systolic pressure is 120 mm of mercury. Then coming to the second type, that is the diastolic pressure. Diastolic pressure is the lowest pressure in the artery. It results when the ventricles are relaxed. That condition is called diastole, when the ventricles are relaxed. Earlier, when the ventricles are under pressure, that means they are compressed. When the ventricles contract, that is systolic pressure. Diastolic pressure is the pressure observed in the artery when the ventricles are begin to relax. When the ventricles begin to relax, that process called dilation, it's also called as. So it is called diastole. So this diastolic blood pressure is a low blood pressure which ranges from 60 to 90 mm of mercury, So diastolic pressure is the blood pressure which ranges from 60 to 90 mm of mercury. Average value is 80 mm of mercury. The average value of a diastolic pressure is 80 mm of mercury. So normal range of blood pressure is between 120 to 70 or 80 mm of mercury. That is the normal range of blood pressure. So blood pressure is a measure of the force that the circulating blood exerts against the arterial walls. It is the force that the circulating blood exerts against the arterial wall. Then coming to the classification, the different methods of blood pressure measurement. We know why we are measuring the blood pressure: to avoid untimely death, to prevent heart attacks. It is a good indicator of the status of cardiovascular system. Thereby it acts as a warning. It acts as a warning to the person who is suffering with high or low blood pressures, because you can save the person from untimely death, and also you can prevent heart attacks. So this is why we are measuring the blood pressure. So there are different methods of measurement of blood pressure. We have the two basic classification of blood pressure measurement, that is invasive method and non-invasive method. Invasive method is the method where you are going to do a surgery is being carried out. Invasive, you need to do a surgery. So it is extravascular. This invasive method is of two types: the extravascular sensor and intravascular sensor. Okay, you are going to use, there are two methods in the invasive method. Invasive method is where a surgery is required for measurement of blood pressure. You are going to use the two methods, extravascular method and intravascular method. These two methods are used. The invasive methods, they are called the extravascular and the intravascular methods. Okay, but we are only confined to our topic of discussion in this. According to our topic of discussion is, we are going to talk about the non-invasive methods. In this presentation, I am going to discuss about the non-invasive methods rather than the invasive methods. The non-invasive methods, we have different types of non-invasive methods, that is where a surgery is not required or recommended. Where a surgery is not required or recommended, I am going to deal the non-invasive method of measurement of blood pressure. The non-invasive method, you are having what are the non-invasive method? Osculatory method, palpatory method, oscillometric method, and ultrasonic method and automatic method. These are the different types of non-invasive methods. We are going to discuss the different types of non-invasive methods, that is osculatory method, palpatory method, oscillometric method, ultrasonic method and automated method. Ultrasonic method and automated method. So, coming to the next classification of blood pressure measurement. Blood pressure measurement is again classified into a different classification where we call them as direct method and indirect method. Direct method and indirect method. In the direct method, it is the most precise measurement. Direct method is most precise measurement, and direct connection to the major artery to a transducer via a catheter is possible. Okay, you are having a direct contact with the blood flow. So there are two types of methods in this direct method, that is percutaneous method. We have the method called percutaneous method and catheterization method. Percutaneous method and catheterization method. Percutaneous insertion method and catheterization method and implantation of the transducer in a vessel or in the heart. So this is a direct method. It's the most precise method of measurement. Direct connection to the major artery to a transducer via a catheter is used. So there are, in this direct method we have two types. We have three methods, that is percutaneous insertion method, then catheterization method and and then we have implantation of a transducer in a vessel or in the heart. Okay, so direct method is an invasive method. Remember, direct method is an invasive method. In the invasive method, as I told you earlier, invasive method we have extravascular method and intravascular method. Invasive method, direct method is a invasive method, extravascular and intravascular. So this is the most precise measurement. Direct connection to the major artery to a transducer via a catheter is possible. So three types: percutaneous insertion method, catheterization method and implantation method. In the extravascular method, the vascular pressure is coupled to an external sensor element via a liquid filled catheter. Okay, in the extravascular method, the vascular pressure is coupled to an external sensor. The sensor is placed external. Okay, the sensor is, whereas in the intravascular method, the sensor is placed into the tip of the catheter, which is placed in the vascular system. Whereas in the extravascular method, the sensor is placed in the external part, external to the vascular system. The vascular pressure is coupled to an external sensor element via a liquid filled catheter. Catheter is nothing but a long tube which is introduced into the heart or a major vessel by a way of superficial vein or an artery. Through a superficial vein or an artery, you are going to insert the catheter into the heart or the major vessel. So it is in direct contact with the blood. That's why this method is called direct contact method. In the direct contact method, we have it is an invasive method. That means you are going to do a small surgery or small insertion is made where the catheter tip, which is sensitive, it is in contact with the blood flow. Then in the intravascular method, the sensor is placed into the tip of the catheter that is placed in the vascular system. Whereas in the indirect method, it is a non-invasive method. It is a non-invasive method. So we use a sigmomanometer. The sigmomanometer, what we do? We use a sigmomanometer. Sigmomanometer, we are having two methods in the indirect method where we are using sigmomanometer. There are two methods. The first method is osculatory method. Osculatory method, it is this word means listening or hearing. Osculatory method, you are going to hear or listen. Using this method, you are going to, it is derived from a Latin word called listening or hearing. So you are going to use a stethoscope and a sigmomanometer. Stethoscope and a sigmomanometer. Then there is another method called palpatory method. Palpatory method. There is another method called palpatory method. In the palpatory method, you are going to feel. It is not only listening, but you are going to feel the pressure, feel the blood pressure. So this is the second method, the palpatory method, and in the palpatory method, this method it is referred to as you are going to feel the radial pulse. The radial pulse, you are going to feel it. So that's why this method is called palpatory method. So radial pulse, you are going to feel it. So in the palpatory method, you are going to feel the radial pulse. That's why this method is the second method. The osculatory method is you are going to listen to the sound, whereas in the palpatory method, you are going to feel the radial pulse that is being generated. The radial pulse, with the tip of the finger of the left hand, you can feel the radial pulse. So you can feel the radial pulse, and by feeling this, you are going to measure the blood pressure. So this is the second method, that is a palpitation method, which is also an indirect method. In the sigmomanometer, we are going to use the two methods. Okay, based on the pulse on the blood vessel technique, requires a noise-free environment. Palpitation method, it requires a noise-free environment. Osculatory method, you are going to listen. It cannot be used in a noise environment. That is a disadvantage with this. Okay, so these are the two types of methods. What type of methods they are? They are indirect methods. There are the two types. They are indirect methods. Coming to the indirect method of blood pressure measurement, we are going to study about sigmomanometer. Sigmomanometer, sigmo means pulse according to the Greek word. In the sigmomanometer, it contains, what does the sigmomanometer contain? The sigmomanometer contains a mercury or an aneroid manometer, inflatable pressure cuff, and a stethoscope. You are going to use a stethoscope, an inflatable pressure cuff, and a mercury or aneroid manometer. So when the cuff pressure occludes, bronchial artery turbulence is generated. Turbulence is generated when the pressure cuff occludes. That means when it presses the bronchial artery, turbulence is generated. This turbulence creates Korthoff sounds. There is a special sound called as Korthoff sounds. These sounds, when heard through the stethoscope, the first Korthoff sound that you hear is the sound recorded as systolic pressure, and when the sound just disappears, recorded as diastolic pressure. So locating the systolic and diastolic by listening to the Korthoff sounds is osculatory method. As I told you, the first one, sigmomanometer, we have two methods. So locating the systolic and diastolic pressures and listening to the Korthoff sounds using the stethoscope is an osculatory method. Then physician identify pressure by feeling the patient's pulse, that is radial pulse. If you are able to feel that pulse, then it is a palpatory method. It is a palpatory method. So this is an indirect blood pressure measurement method where we are going to use a sigmomanometer, which consists of a mercury or aneroid manometer. Mercury or aneroid manometer, inflatable pressure cuff, and a stethoscope. Inflatable pressure cuff and a stethoscope. So sigmomanometer. What is a sigmomanometer? Sigmomanometer is a device that measures blood pressure. So it consists of an inflatable rubber cuff which is wrapped around the arm. Okay, it is a pressure measuring device, blood pressure measuring device. So it consists of an inflatable rubber cuff which is wrapped around the arm. A measuring device indicates the pressure, cuff's pressure. A measuring device is there which indicates the cuff's pressure. A bulb inflates the cuff and a valve releases the pressure. You have a bulb, a rubber bulb is there which inflates the cuff and the valve releases the pressure. A stethoscope is used to listen to the arterial blood flow sounds. So you are going to use a stethoscope which is used to listen to the arterial blood flow sounds. Which is used to listen to the arterial blood flow sounds. As the heart beats, blood force through the arteries cause a rise in the pressure called systolic pressure. As the heart begins to beat, when it begins to pump blood from the body parts into the lungs and from the lungs again back to the body parts through the superior and inferior vena cavas, the major veins. So during this process, blood is flows through the arteries and cause a rise in the pressure called systolic pressure, followed by a decrease in the pressure as the heart's ventricles prepare for another beat. This low pressure is called diastolic pressure. So the sphygmomanometer is inflated to well above the expected systolic pressure. As I told you, the systolic pressure is 120 mm normal range, 120. So more than that you are going to inflate the cuff. As the valve is open, cuff pressure slowly decreases. And when the cuff pressure equals the arterial systolic pressure, blood begins to flow past the cuff, creating blood flow turbulences and audible sounds. Okay, you are going to hear the sound. When you are going to hear the sound, when the cuff pressure equals the arterial systolic pressure, blood begins to flow past the cuff, creating blood flow turbulence and audible sound. So using the stethoscope, these sounds are heard and the cuff pressure is recorded. Okay, by hearing the sound, these sounds are heard and the cuff pressure is recorded. The blood flow sounds will continue until the cuff pressure falls below the arterial diastolic pressure. The pressure when the blood flow sounds stop indicates the diastolic pressure. So these sounds, they continue. First time they begin, the sound begins to start. That is called systolic pressure. And these sounds, they continue until the cuff pressure falls below the arterial diastolic pressure. The pressure when the blood flow sounds stop indicates the diastolic pressure. So systolic and diastolic pressures are commonly stated as systolic over diastolic. They are commonly stated as systolic over diastolic. So for example, 120 over 80. 120 mm of mercury is the systolic pressure and 80 mm of mercury will be the diastolic pressure. So blood flow sounds are called Korthoff sounds. These sounds generated which are audible by the stethoscope, they are so called Korthoff sound. So this is the diagram of a blood pressure measuring device, that is sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer, you can see, you can observe in the figure, you have a vertical manometer which represents the pressure levels, and you have an inflated cuff, and this is the bulb there with a valve. So your device consists of mercury or aneroid manometer. You have a manometer there, inflatable pressure cuff is there, and a stethoscope, and it has a rubber bulb which can be inflate, which helps to inflate the cuff. The rubber bulb, when it is pressed, and the valve, you have a valve to that bulb, when the valve is released, the pressure is variated. So this is your sphygmomanometer. Then in this sphygmomanometer, as I told you earlier, we have two methods. One is the osculatory method, that is listening or hearing. You are hearing the sound and then noting down the pressure, the systolic and diastolic pressure. That is called osculatory method. So the osculatory method involves listening to Korthoff sounds using a stethoscope which is placed over the branchial artery in antecubital fossa of the elbow. So when the pressure is exerted by the cuff, when you are pressing the bulb, the cuff pressure will be exerted it becomes much bigger than the pressure of the systolic pressure. There is no blood flow. When the pressure in the cuff is much more than the systolic pressure, what happens? The blood flow will be stopped for a while, hence no sound is there. When pressure is much lower than the systolic pressure, this leads to blood forcing its way under the cuff for short periods at beginning of the systole when the pressure is highest. So when the pressure is more than the systolic pressure, the cuff presses the blood vessel and hence the blood flow is stopped. So slowly when you are releasing the cuff pressure, what happens? The blood flow will suddenly gush in. So a sound is heard. Okay, pressure much lower than the systolic pressure. This leads to blood forcing its way under the cuff for short periods at the beginning of the systole when the pressure is higher. So blood flow sound are turbulent and move in a high velocity. This causes the sharp tapping. That is the first Kortkoff sound is heard, and it is called the systolic pressure. Now the pressure in the cuff begins to fall lower and lower, and the sound of lub-dub becomes louder, then diminishes. You hear the change in the sound from a tapping to a muffled sound, and thereafter to silence. So slowly first you are hearing a very loud sound when the blood gushes in. Then slowly the pressure, when it is reduced, the sound becomes less louder and it finally diminishes or vanishes, and you can just hear a muffled sound, and thereafter silence is there. So in that stage you are going to measure the diastolic pressure. The diastolic pressure is the fifth Kortkoff sound. So this is the osculatory method. As I told you, in the osculatory method, the cuff is wound over the elbow, and you are going to use the rubber bulb is pressed, and you are going to measure you are going to listen to the sound using the stethoscope. Which you can observe in the figure shown. Okay. Then the second method is the palpatory method. So in the palpatory method, you are going to feel the radial pulse using your hand. So taking the radial pulse while inflating the cuff. The systolic pressure is the pressure where the cuff's pressure cuts off the pulse. Hence no pulse can be felt. Systolic pressure is the pressure when no pulse will appear. Because it presses and it doesn't allow. When the pressure in systolic pressure is more than, when the cuff pressure is more than the systolic pressure, at one stage what happens? You cannot hear the flow. So the radial pulse will be cut off. Hence no pulse can be felt. So this is in the palpatory method. This is a method where you cannot measure the diastolic pressure. You can only measure the systolic pressure, and it provides a wise instrument in a patient suspected of HT, that is hypertension. Silent period with Kortkoff sound. Okay, silent period with Kortkoff sound. So this is the palpatory method. In the method of using sphygmomanometer, where you are going to feel the pulse, radial pulse. So you can observe in the figure. So the inflation bulb is there. You are going to press the bulb. When you press the bulb, the cuff pressure increases. When the cuff pressure is more than the systolic pressure, no sound will be heard, and that can be felt using the hand at the wrist location. So this is called palpatory method. So how to measure systemic arterial? Let the patient be seated or lie down. This is the method of measurement of the systolic pressure and diastolic pressures. What you are going to do is, you are going to make the patient be seated or lie down. Using the left arm of the patient, determine the radial pulse. As I told you, you are going to take the left arm into your hand and feel at the radial and determine the radial pulse. Then wrap the cuff around the left arm above the elbow at the level of the heart. Inflate the cuff, keeping track of the radial pulse. When the radial pulse cannot be felt anymore, you will have an estimate of what the systolic pressure, blood pressure is. Okay. You can just hold the hand and at the wrist, when you measure, when you sense the feeling of the blood pressure, that pressure, that is called, you can determine the radial pulse. Now you are wrapping the cuff around the left arm, above the elbow, near the chest, heart, at the level of the heart, and when the cuff is inflated, keeping track of the radial pulse. When the radial pulse cannot be felt anymore, when you are not able to feel the radial pulse anymore, you have an estimate of what the systolic blood pressure is. So place the stethoscope in your ears, deflate the cuff and pump the cuff 20 mm mercury higher than the systolic blood pressure. Slowly deflate the cuff again. When you slowly deflate the cuff, and then listen to the beginning of the throbbing sound, the systolic blood pressure, and the end of the throbbing sound will be the diastolic blood pressure. Repeat the procedure 3 times and determine the mean blood pressure. So you are going to repeat the procedure for 3 times and determine the mean for the blood pressure. The readings are influenced if the cuff is too small. If the cuff is too small, it leads to pressure not adequately transmitted to the artery. Okay. And cuff is not wrapped around the arm. If it is not wrapped properly around the arm, that will also lead to errors in the reading. It will lead to errors in the reading. Then the procedure, once again I would like to explain the procedure of the blood pressure measurement. A properly sized blood pressure cuff is used for blood pressure measurement. You remember, the size of the cuff is also very important to get the accurate reading. So the length of the cuff bladder should be at least equal to 80% of the circumference of the upper arm. The cuff is wrapped around the upper arm with the cuff lower edge 1 inch above the antecubital fossa. Okay. So it must be, the cuff must be wrapped around the upper arm 1 inch above the antecubital fossa. The stethoscope bell is lightly pressed over the bronchial artery just below the cuff edge. So some healthcare workers have difficulty using the bell in the antecubital fossa. So we suggest using the bell or the diaphragm to measure the blood pressure. The cuff is rapidly inflated to 180 mm of mercury. The air is released from the cuff at a moderate rate of 3 mm per second. So for 1 second the air will be released at the rate of 3 mm per second. So the cuff is rapidly inflated. So then listen with the stethoscope and simultaneously observe the dial or the mercury gauge, which you have seen in the figure. You have a gauge there which indicates the pressure. So the first knocking sound that this causes is the subject's systolic pressure. When the when this knocking sound disappears, then it is diastolic pressure. So that will be 120/80. Record the pressure in both the arms and note the difference. Also record the subject's position supine with which arm was used. Position also, subject's position and which arm was used also, and the cuff size, small, standard or large adult cuff. If the subject pressure is elevated, measure blood pressure 2 additional times, waiting a few minutes between measurements. Okay. If the subject pressure is much elevated, so you have to repeat the process another 2 times, waiting for a minute before taking a next measurement. Okay. Then you can take the average of the 3 measurements. Okay. A blood pressure of 180 by, it is not 20, 180 by 120 mercury or more requires immediate attention. So if your pressure is 180 by 120 mm of mercury, immediate attention is very, very essential. Immediate attention is very, very essential. So this is the diagram of indirect blood pressure measurement using sphygmomanometer. Your palpatory method and oscillation method is also used. You can see in the figure how the waveform is being generated, the cuff pressure and the systolic pressure. The dotted lines refers to the cuff pressure. It is more than 120 and slowly it is coming down. So arterial pressure, when it is coming down, you at one point loud sound is heard, that is called systolic pressure, and slowly the systolic pressure, the pressure is decreasing, and when the pressure, when you cannot hear any sound, then that will be the diastolic pressure. This is the diagram of the pressure versus pressure of the mercury with time, how the palpitation is, how the variation of pressure takes place when the cuff pressure is released, when the cuff pressure is released from a maximum to a lower value, from a maximum to a lower value. Then, what are the advantages of indirect measurement? Advantages of indirect blood pressure measurement are: indirect blood pressure measurements are non-invasive, that means they do not require any surgery. They can be used to obtain repeated measurements of systolic blood pressure in conscious animals during studies of short or long duration. You can find out the systolic blood pressure in conscious animals during the studies of short or long duration. And they require less expensive equipment. They require less expensive equipment than some direct methods. Example is telemetry, and can also be less expensive to operate. They require less expensive equipment and also less expensive to operate them also. They can be used to screen for systolic hypertensions or substantial differences in systolic blood pressure among large number of animals or human beings. Okay, they can be used to screen for systolic hypertension. The disadvantages of indirect measurement, blood pressure measurement, is does not provide a continuous recording of the pressure variation. You don't get the continuous recording of the pressure variation. Practical repetition rate is limited and often fails when the blood pressure is very low. It does not, you don't get a continuous record of the pressure variations. Practically, repetition rate is limited, and also it fails when the blood pressure is very low, when the blood pressure is very low. So these are the disadvantages of indirect blood pressure measurement. Then coming to the next method is the direct blood pressure method. Direct blood pressure measurement, it is invasive method. It is invasive method where a surgery is required, and it provides a continuous readout or recording of the blood pressure waveform, and it is more accurate than the indirect method. Direct method of measurement is an invasive method. It provides a continuous readout or recording of the blood pressure waveform, and it is more accurate than the indirect method. Direct method of blood pressure measurement is usually obtained by one of the three methods: percutaneous insertion method, catheterization method, or implantation of transducer in a vessel or in the heart. So direct method, it is an invasive method, and it is more accurate when compared to indirect method, and it produces a continuous readout of the or recording of the blood pressure waveform. It gives a continuous readout or recording of the blood pressure waveform. So direct measurement of blood pressure is usually obtained by any one of the three methods, that is percutaneous insertion, catheterization method, and implantation of transducer in a vessel or in the heart. Direct blood pressure measurement. The first method, the percutaneous insertion method. Local anesthetic is injected near the site of insert, where you are going to insert sensor. You are going to give a local anesthesia. Then the vessel is occluded and a hollow needle is inserted at a slight angle toward the vessel. So you are going to occlude. A vessel is occluded and a hollow needle is inserted. A catheter is fed through the hollow needle with some sort of a guide. You are going to use a catheter to guide the needle inside. So catheter is a medical tube-like device. When the catheter is securely placed in the vessel, needle and guide are withdrawn. You are going to place the catheter inside. When the catheter is placed securely inside the vessel, needle and the guide is withdrawn. Some measurements, needle attached to an airtight tube and pressure sensed by a sensor, transducer. Okay. in some cases we are going to use a needle which is attached to an airtight tube and pressure sensed by a transducer. Other type have transducer built into the top of the catheter. You have a transducer built into the top of the catheter. So this is the percutaneous insertion method. Then the second method is the catheterization method. In the catheterization method, you are going to use a catheter. Catheter is nothing but a long tube which is introduced into the heart. Apart from obtaining the blood pressure used for to obtain blood sample from this heart, it is used to detect the location of the abnormal blood flow pathways. Not only it indicates the blood pressure, but it is used to indicate the abnormal blood flow pathways. A sterile saline solution is introduced into the catheter. Fluid pressure is transmitted through the transducer outside the body. So the frequency response of this system is a combination of frequency response of the catheter, that is the frequency response of the transducer, and frequency response of the fluid column in the catheter. So you are going to use a fluid catheter which is consisting of a saline solution, and the fluid pressure is transmitted to the transducer outside the body. So this is the direct measurement, extravascular measurement. See, you can observe in the figure the patient. You are inserting the catheter into the patient, and sample and transducer are placed outside, which we have a stop clock for that, and here is a saline solution which is introduced into this catheter, and you have other electrical connections. So this pressure transducer is there inside, which will measure the pressure of the incoming blood flow. So implantation of a transducer in a vessel or in the heart. This is another method. Longitudinal insertion is made. Transducer inserted in contact with the arterial walls. For cardiac implants, stab wound in ventricle is made. For long-term studies, transducer inserted and intercostal artery is used to bring the wire out. So this is totally you are implanting the transducer into the heart to measure the blood pressure. So what are the disadvantages and disadvantages of direct blood pressure measurement? Advantages is it is a continuous method, analog signal suitable for data acquisition. You can the analog signal can be converted into a digital signal with and it is also suitable for data acquisition. Both systolic and diastolic measurement is possible in this case. No special restraints are required, and MRI compatibility is there. MRI compatible is there in direct blood pressure measurement. So continuous measurement, analog signal suitable for data acquisition. Both systolic and diastolic measurement is possible. No spectral restraints is required, and MRI compatible. Disadvantages is it requires surgery to place the catheter. Periodic flushing of the catheter is required in this method. Okay, a surgery is required to implant the catheter, to place the catheter, and also periodic flushing of the catheter is required because it may be clogged. So these are the two disadvantages of direct blood pressure measurement. Advantages and disadvantages of direct blood pressure measurement. So to summarize our topic of discussion today, we have studied about the necessity of blood pressure measurement, about the necessity of the blood pressure measurement. Why do we need to measure blood pressure? Blood pressure is nothing but it is the measure of the force that the circulating blood exerts against the arterial walls. It is the force that the circulating blood exerts against the arterial walls. So blood pressure measurement, it is an indication of the status of the cardiovascular system. So this measurement can save the person from untimely death by providing warnings. It prevents heart attack. There are several methods for measurement of blood pressure. There are two. It is broadly classified into two major types: invasive method and non-invasive method. In the invasive method, you are having extravascular sensor and intravascular sensor. Extravascular sensor and intravascular sensor. In the invasive method, we have the extravascular sensor and intravascular sensors. Then in the next method, we have the in non-invasive methods, that is osculatory method, palpatory method, oscillometric method, ultrasonic method and automatic method. In these methods, again the blood pressure measurement can be classified into other two types, that is direct method and indirect method. Direct method is more precise method, and direct connection of the major artery to the transducer via a catheter is possible. In that we have three types, that is percutaneous insertion method, catheterization method and implant of a transducer in a vessel or in the heart. Then we have the second is the indirect method. In the indirect method, we use a sigmomanometer, which can be used in two ways, that is osculatory method and palpatory method. In the osculatory method, you hear or listen to the sound. In the palpatory method, we feel the radial pulse. So sigmomanometer is the most common device which is used for measurement of blood pressure. It is a indirect method of measurement of blood pressure, which consists of a mercury or an aneroid manometer, inflatable pressure cuff, you have a rubber bulb and a stethoscope. So when the cuff pressure occludes the bronchial artery, turbulence is generated, and this turbulence creates a Korthoff sound, and that sound heard through the stethoscope. First Korthoff sound recorded is known as systolic pressure, which is the maximum pressure when the ventricles are contracted, and it is roughly around 120 mm of mercury in a normal adult. When the sound just disappears, that record of pressure is called diastolic pressure. So locating the systolic and diastolic pressure of the Korthoff sounds is the osculatory method, and physician identifying the pressure by feeling the patient's pulse, it is known as palpatory. It is known as palpatory method. It is known as palpatory method. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this direct blood pressure measurement? Is it is a invasive method, and it provides a continuous readout of the recording of blood pressure waveform, and it is more accurate than the indirect method. It is more accurate than the indirect method. The direct method is more accurate than the indirect method. So this is an invasive method. It is a continuous readout, and recording of the blood pressure waveform is possible here. So what is the advantage of direct blood pressure measurement? Is continuous measurement, analog signal suitable for data acquisition. Both systolic and diastolic measurement is possible. No special restraints are required, and MRI compatibility is allowed here. But only disadvantage is it is an invasive method. It requires a surgery to place a catheter, and periodic flushing of the catheter is required. Because the catheter may get clogged. When we come to the case of this is the case of direct method. When we come to the case of indirect method, in the indirect method we have the sigmomanometer, as I told you, and there is another two methods, that is we have the other two methods. In the direct blood pressure measurement is percutaneous method, where local anesthesia is given near the site of insertion, and the vessel is occluded and a hollow needle is inserted at a slight angle towards the vessel, and the catheter is fed through the hollow needle with some sort of guide. So catheter is a medical tube-like device. When catheter is securely placed in the vessel, needle and guide are withdrawn, and some measurements, needle attached to the airtight tube and pressure sensed by the transducer. Then we have the catheterization method. It is where you are going to use a long tube which is introduced in the heart. Apart from obtaining blood pressure, it is used to obtain the blood sample from the heart, and also it is used to detect the location of the abnormal blood flow pathways. Sterile saline solutions are introduced into the catheter, and fluid pressure is transmitted to a transducer outside the body. Then we have the implantation of transducer. It is a longitudinal insertion is made. Transducer is inserted in contact with the arterial walls. For a cardiac implant, stab wound is in ventricle is made. So transducer user is either inserted and intercostal artery is used to bring out the wire. So this is about the implantation of the transducer. So this is a direct blood pressure measurement method. So the advantages and disadvantages of direct blood pressure measurement is continuous measurement, analog signal suitable for data acquisition, no special restraints are there, MRI compatibility, and it requires surgery to place the catheter. Whereas when we come to the case of the advantages of indirect measurement, this is a non-invasive and it does not require any surgery. It can be used to obtain repeated measurement of systolic pressure, and it can be used to screen for systolic hypertensions, and it requires less equipment, expensive equipment, and also less expensive to operate also. Whereas the disadvantage is it cannot produce a continuous reading of the pressure variation, and practical repetition rate is limited, and it often fails when blood pressure is very low. So we have studied about the necessity of blood pressure measurement, the methods of blood pressure measurement, both the direct and indirect methods, and their advantages and disadvantages. So with this, I would like to end my presentation today.